Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to see so many of you this afternoon. Um, Today we are going to talk about things which are sometimes confusing even for students on higher levels. We're going to talk about these chunks of English language which we call notorious confusables. So words, expressions which cause some kind of confusion while we use English. So let's look briefly at the plan of today's meeting. First, we will have a close look at some false friends. Then we will try to, sorry for my voice and my throat is a bit sore today. Then we will look at some confusing words. Then we will try to decode the kind of mysterious word, which is homophones. Yes, these are words that sound alike. Part of these homophones are minimal pairs. Then we will smoothly move on, I hope, to homographs, so the words which have the same spelling but different pronunciation and different meaning. And at the end, if time allows, we will look at homonyms, so words which have multiple meaning. Just a brief introduction. I'll give you some examples of each of these categories, but the full list and the complete list you will receive in all materials which are going to reach you just after the webinar. And of course, after each section, we will have a short test, a short checkup whether you are catching up with the webinar. So please write your answers in the chat box when I'll ask you some questions. Right? Okay, so let's go. First category of confusing English words are false friends. This is a kind of contradiction because a false friend is not a good friend. In other words, this is a notion which describes all the words that look similar, like in Polish, but they mean something completely different. Okay? So, the first and the most commonly confused is the word actual or actually. Do you know what it really means in English? Definitely, it doesn't mean aktualnie or aktualny. Any idea? Those of you who know, could you write it down in the chat box? What is actual? Yes, Magda, you're right. Thank you. Isa, Anya, fantastic. A lot of good answers. It means real and really. So, for example, I'm Eva Getz, right? So my name is Getz, but actually I'm Polish. So it's not I'm now Polish, but really I'm Polish. Yes, okay, so this is one of the most commonly confused false friends. The next one, the number 2 on the box, is the word eventual and eventually. It means, yeah, Daniel, very well. Before I switch the slide, you answered that, final or finally. So when you're working on the project, you can say that you eventually finished your job, right? Or we can say that eventually the peace talks finished with mutual agreement. It's a kind of relief that something happened, okay? Billion. How much is billion in English? Is it billion? Okay, it's more than that. Yes, it's nine zeros. So you can easily connotate it with the number of inhabitants of our planet, as in the saying that there are over 7 billion people in the world. By the way, just a grammar notice that if you use numbers like 200 or 5,000 or 3 million or 7 billion, you don't put S at the end, okay? So you can say there were hundreds of people, but if you give a specific number, there were 300 of people, then S doesn't follow. Yeah, Paulina, exactly. This is milliard. Right, chef. This false friend is becoming less and less dangerous due to the popularity of cooking programs on Polish TV. And now we know that we don't talk about our boss at the company in this way. we say boss, manager, leader, because chef is the person who is a leader, but only in a very specific environment. Yes, I can see that lots of you are writing down answers in the question box. Chefs are only in the kitchen, right? So chef's menu for this week is, or how many famous chefs do you know? All right, good. What about the word mark? Right. Sorry, Marcin, you asked the question. Yes, chefs only in the kitchen. Exactly. Mark. Mark is so similar to the Polish word that we often say that, for example, describing some company's logo. It's not that, because the mark is just a sign, while we think about that more like a brand, right? So could you mark only correct answers? Oh, I don't understand this mark on my documents. So it's not a logo, it's not a brand, it's a kind of a sign which marks certain areas of text. Well, this word doesn't produce any positive connotations in Polish, because the word obscure has definitely negative connotation. Whereas in English, it's not that true, because it means unknown, right? So obscure place is not a place which is dirty, shabby, unpleasant. It's a place which is not so popular, right? Now we are just before the long weekend, and I think some of us will go to some obscure places, nothing wrong with it, because it means these places are not very popular, like a cottage in the countryside. The example shows you I would like to travel to some obscure places. This is very positive statement, remember that. Okay, extra. Yes, in Polish, if we say that something is extra, it means that has fantastic value. Whereas in English, extra means simply additional. If you put these meanings in the context of work, you get completely different context, right? Because extra work is not superb, fantastic work that we love, but this is additional load of work that we have to do. For example, like in the sentence, due to tight deadlines, right? Good, Ola, additional, great. Ordinary. Again, the look of this word may evoke some negative connotations, but it's not. Ordinary is just something which is common, average, normal, nothing special, right? So we can say that, oh, it was one of those ordinary summer days when something happened, right? I guess most of you work for organizations, and we have to write and read some reports, but this is a different, slightly different word. It's not a report, but this is rapport. Sounds French. A lot of English words have origin in French language. Do you know, by the way, what rapport means? Does anyone know? Because this word is confusing. It can be easily confused with the word report. Well, I can't see any answers. No, Mariusz, thank you. This is relation, exactly, relationship. So for example, I love my students. I love teaching. So I think a good rapport with my groups or individual students is a background for good educational results. And also Jenny, in the example, she has excellent rapport with her students. So it means the atmosphere in her groups is excellent. Well, very sensitive subject, money, comes up here as the word pension. Of course, the first connotation for somebody who doesn't know English very well is, oh yeah, I get pension every month. Yes and no, because you can say that if you're over 65 or over 60 in Poland, because this is money for retired people. Yes, Eva, very good. This is for retired people. So for example, my grandma, she receives her pension at the end of each month, while what we receive, people who are professionally active, we receive salary. Rumor. The word is kind of, hard in pronunciation. Rumor is not the noise. It's not something like we hear as you know, sudden and unpleasant noise. It's something that we hear, but what is it? Oh yeah, how many answers. Great, Małgosia, Paulina, Isabella, Kasia, wow, a lot. So rumors are gossips or news, but rumors are a little bit more official than gossips. Gossips are more personal. Rumors can be, for example, about changes in the company or about, you know, some bigger things than our private life. So have you heard some rumors about redundancies, about people who will be fired from the company? Okay. And well, time for a little test for your attention. Can you match these false friends with their real meaning? So actual, ordinary, extra. Actual is ABC, or ordinary is ABC, or extra is ABC. Yes, okay, great. I mean, in the chat box, I can see only correct answers, which is very nice for me because it means that you're listening attentively to what I'm saying. Thank you. A lot of answers. I can't mention your names even because there are so many of them. Yeah, exactly. Actual means real. Ordinary means common, normal. And extra means additional. Okay, so a lot more friends, false friends, will reach you after this seminar. These were just examples of the most common and most commonly confused ones. All right, so let's move on to the words which are not false friends, so they don't look like Polish words, but they are just confusing by the look or pronunciation. Okay, so we will start with the words which confuse us with their meaning. Well, this is the king or the queen, the pair of borrow and lend. In Polish, we have only one word for that. In English, there are two words, two verbs, which describe different types of situations, all right? So you borrow money from somebody or from institution, right? Like in the example, but you lend something to somebody, okay? So we borrow from and we lend to somebody or some institution, okay? Another pair, confusing because looks very similar, is this one, effective versus efficient. So humor or some kind of attitude, positive attitude, is often more effective than shouting at your children, at your subordinates, at your friends, at anybody, right? So effective meaning bringing better effects. The new machine is far more efficient than the old one. So efficient, it means giving not better results, but more, right? So not better, but more. This category would be probably the best key to differentiate those two, okay? Economy and economics. Well, what do we study and what is the state of affairs in our country, in Europe, in the world? Economy or economics? Any guesses? What can we study? Right, Eva, you're perfectly right? So economy is the state of affairs, of business, and economics is science. So US economy has been recovering after severe crisis, but we study, or she studied, economics at Cambridge University, right? So the small difference, but significant in terms of meaning. Well, the pair which sometimes can cause problems, hard and hardly. This is the exception, yes, because normally we have words like slow, slowly, quick, quickly, nice, nicely, and this one is definitely an exception. And because this is the exception, it can cause a little bit of a problem while using these words successfully. So hard means, you know, with a lot of effort, right? They try hard to win this contract. Great negotiators. Great, that's easy. But hardly means something completely different. It means almost not. She hardly knows him. They met only once, right? Okay? So if you have the situation that somebody says, oh, he works hard or he hardly works, both sentences carry absolutely different meaning. He works hard means he's a very good worker. He hardly works means that he is not. Right, and then overtake and take over. You see, it's enough to change the order of words to get a completely different meaning. So if we overtake another car, it means that we would like to be the first in line, yes? But if we take over the company, it means that we start to possess it. Like in the examples that you can see at your screens, that's a dangerous place to overtake, or IBM is taking over the smaller company. Good. What's another pair? Another pair, well, very popular subject these days, politics and policy. They both translate the same into Polish, like polityka, but their application is different. So politics is just, you know, the whole set of things which are happening within the country, within some union, right? So these days, maybe it's better not to talk about politics because we can argue with each other. But if you work for some company, for some organization, you can say that something is against the company policy or according to company policy. So policy is more like strategy, right? Quiet and quiet, little change in spelling and slight change in pronunciation, meanings completely different. It was quite interesting argument, and please be quiet. The meeting is in progress. Of course, we can create a kind of sentence in which we would put these words together, like this room is quite quiet. Sounds strange, but possible. Lucky and happy. Sometimes we are lucky, sometimes we are happy, and these two feelings are not exactly the same, because we are lucky if something happens to us, like externally. We win at lotto. Here in the example, somebody was lucky because the police arrived on time. Okay, so this is like external something, like circumstances which cause us, you know, lucky, and happy is just internal, maybe not just, but this is the internal deep feeling. So I was so happy when they announced the results. Okay, desert and dessert, right? One S, different, slightly different pronunciation, totally different meaning. Any idea what these two go for? Anybody? There is a silence in the chat box. So the first one, yeah, some answers are coming. Thank you. So one of them is definitely a dry area of land. So have you ever been to the Sahara Desert? And dessert is something sweet that we eat at the end of the meal. So would you like to order a dessert after dinner? Okay. Thank you. There were some answers. Thank you very much. Beside and besides, again, one letter, quite similar pronunciation, but totally different meaning. So who's standing beside your boss, in the sense of who's standing next to your boss? Yeah. And besides is, yes, exactly. This is what you're writing in the chat box. This is like, you know, opening of the sentence showing that there is something more, like here. Besides making money, the company aims to set high standards of quality. So on the top of making money, they want to do something more. Okay, one of the few last ones, employer and employee, seemingly easy, but I can find that some of my students keep confusing them all the time. So all the words which finish with ER, like employer, interviewer, trainer, is somebody who is like holding control of the situation, yes? And employee, interviewee, a trainee are people who are subjects of this action, yes? Right, I can see that you're distinguishing this in the chat box. So the factory is the largest employer in the area, yes, so controls the job market, and people who are subject of this are employees. So their employees worked a 10-hour a day. All right. What can we discover and what can we invent? What can be discovered or what can be or what was invented? Okay, I'm waiting for your answers, but if they don't come, that's the explanation. So you can discover something which already exists, right? Like Vikings, that's the story, that's the theory. They had discovered America long before Columbus did, and you invent something which is totally new, right? So who invented the engine? Alone and lonely, again, a similar pair like lucky and happy. So one of these words describe the external situation and one of these words describes kind of feelings, right? Yes, so you can be alone but happy. For example, I like to be alone at home sometimes, yeah? My, companions are away, my family is away, and I'm alone at home, but I don't feel lonely. On the contrary, you can have a lot of friends and you can be surrounded by people. You're not alone, but deep inside you feel lonely. The film which always appears on Polsat on Christmas Day, Home Alone, translated into Polish as Kevin sam w domu, and the situation of a person who's probably, okay, alone because without a wife, but lonely deep at heart. Sensible and sensitive. Any ideas? Sensible person could be also a sensitive person. It's not contradictory. But the word, sensitive, especially I think ladies, we know that sensitive means full of feelings, delicate, fragile, because we see it often on cosmetics, on the labels. But what kind of person is a sensible person? Yes, this is a person who is very reasonable. Or we can have a sensible price or a sensible offer or a sensible argument, meaning reasonable. Yes, but if we are delicate, if something is delicate, like the subjects that you're seeing on the screen, politics, sex, and religion are sensitive subjects. Oh, I've made a mistake. Subjects, there is an extra C. Don't look, I'll correct it. Okay, recipe and receipt. Where we can get a receipt and where we can get the recipe. What is the recipe for success? Exactly. Recipe, like, the plan of making a cheesecake, but also a plan for making a success. And receipt is a small bill that we receive, for example, from the shop. Yeah. Okay. But it's not recepta. This is prescription, right? So when I'll send you the complete list of false friends and confusing words, you will also have the words which are correct, because recipe is not only a confusing word, but it's also a false friend in Polish. And the last one from this category, take an exam and pass an exam. In Polish, it's perfectly okay to say jutro zdaję egzamin. It doesn't make any sense in English. In English, you take an exam, and after a good result, successful result, you can say that you passed the exam, okay? So taking an exam is only a trial. while passing an exam is the real success. So I'm taking an FC exam tomorrow, but I'm not sure if I pass it, right? Okay, now time for a little wake up. We have 3 examples referring to what we've said, and could you decide what did she study? Could you tell me what happened last year? And could you also tell me what about the team of the proud manager? Okay, so number 1 would be, yes, economics. Yeah, so she studied economics at London University. Okay, a sip of water. And definitely our company was taken over by the investment fund, and my team works very hard. Good, great. Yes, so now you can see the correct answers, correct versions. Thank you very, very much for very active participation. And we're moving smoothly to homophones, so words that sound alike. They are pronounced in the same way, but they are written in a different way, and of course they have a different meaning. There is, quite a big collection. If we are short of time, I will try to speed up, but once again, I would like to ensure you that everything will be sent to you in the materials, so you're definitely not going to miss anything. Which, no, meet, here, one, there, which, would, flower, see, would, buy. All these words have their counterparts, and the first pair is to this one, meet and meet. Yeah, so let's meet to eat some meat. This kind of sentence often makes people laugh because they hear the same sound and they have quickly realized that two identically pronounced words convey a different meaning, right? The next pair of typical homophones is this one, weather and weather. Exactly the same pronunciation, but totally different meaning, and as you can see, quite different spelling. Okay? Example, please check whether the weather is good for tomorrow's picnic. Another homophone pair is steal and steal. The first one is connected, of course, with the action of taking things which are not your own possession, and the second one is kind of a material, tough, cold material made of iron, right? It happens in Poland, so I took the example, why did he steal so much steel? All right, good. Flower and flower. The first one is obvious, but the second one is sometimes very surprising for people because this is a kind of white powder which is used for producing cakes or making bread for bakery generally. The pronunciation is exactly the same as the word flour. So what is your favorite flour, or how much flour do you need for chocolate cupcakes? Somebody may wonder, flour for chocolate cupcakes? Yes, but this is a different kind of flour. Michał, you're asking about the example inside and inside. Yeah, it will be given in the materials, okay? Not today during the presentation, so don't worry, it will be there. Sorry. And pair. The first one, obvious. What is the second one? Do you know this word, pear? Pear is with this second spelling? Yeah, it's a fruit. It's a fruit, very popular fruit in Poland, very tasty, bit different shape than an apple, but unfortunately Polish students tend to pronounce it in a completely different way. I don't want even to say that, so you don't remember the wrong pronunciation, because definitely you should pronounce it in the same way as the word pear. So I need to buy a new pair of shoes, but is it an apple? No, it's a pear. So remember that this fruit is pronounced in the same way as pair of shoes. Okay? 8 and 8. The past tense of the word, the verb to eat, is pronounced exactly in the same way as ate. So he feels sick because he ate 7 or 8 pears. I put this example on purpose, so that refers to the previous slide and kind of reminds you of unusual pronunciation of the word pear. Okay? Red and red. The first one is, of course, color. That's easy. But the second one is the past tense of the verb to read, pronounced exactly in the same way as read. So I can't remember what book he read. Definitely it had a red cover. That is kind of simple. Okay, well, this one sometimes causes problem, especially, of course, the second word, weigh and weigh. If we weigh something, we try to measure kilos, or we try to measure weight of something. So in what way can you weigh a heavy animal? Very often you come across this word while traveling at the airport. So could you weigh your luggage? How much does it weigh? If you remember that you pronounce it the same way as the way, that could make your life easier. All right, scent and scent. What is the first one? Of course, the second one is obvious, but the first one, yes, it's a kind of a smell, usually very nice smell, connected with flowers, perfumes, so very delicate, very feminine. So what a lovely scent of roses, but actually you can buy it just for a few cents. I don't believe in the second sentence, but I put it just for the sake of illustrating the meaning. Homophones are tricky ones, and sometimes there are more words just than two which have exactly the same pronunciation. Here is the example: peace, peace, and peace. So UN troops were sent for a new peacemaking mission. In the same way we would pronounce this in the second sentence, which is like a piece of cake, or you can name things for cooking like peas, beans, lentils. Okay, good. Sail and sail. So we are sailing. Have a look at this beautiful sail on the horizon, or there is a sail somewhere. So we sail for Havana early in the morning, or I bought this coat on a winter sale. Okay, side and side. It was something that Micha was asking before, but it was inside and inside, but pronunciation is very similar. I can't stand the sight of blood. We visited the site of the Battle of Waterloo. All right, mist and mist. What is the first one? Anybody knows? Yeah, mist is a kind of a fog, but it's kind of delicate fog. And again, you can say a mist of perfume. Yes, so very, very delicate thing, especially on a summer day in the morning. You can see a little mist. So very, very delicate fog. Marcin, you're perfectly right. Something like mgiełka. Okay, I put it on purpose because it's connected with the pronunciation of the past form of verbs like miss, right? We Poles, we tend to say it fully, although we should contract this form and we should say missed, yes? So just a miss of perfume, or John missed the best part of the presentation. Okay, so can you recollect, can you remember the words which have the same pronunciation like meat or peas or whey? Okay, so the first one, yes, a lot of answers, thank you. Yes, you're writing homophones, which are pronounced in the same way, number one. What about homophones which have the same pronunciation for number two, like peas? Okay, yes, great. Elżbieta put all of them in one box. Great, and whey. Yes, yeah, you are very attentive participants. Thank you very much, because all of your answers were perfectly okay. So this is the correct version. Okay, right. How are we on time? Okay, we still have some time. Part of homophones are minimal pairs. So the words which sound exactly the same, but only very tiny feature distinguishes the meaning. Unfortunately, our ears, Slavic ears, Polish ears, sometimes don't hear this. It's the same situation like, for example, Brits. They can't see a difference between Polish word kasha and Kasia. For them, this is the same word because their ears are not tuned. The same with our ears. We are not tuned to differentiate the length of the little vowel, for example, E, like on this picture, right? We have a completely different word depending if we say E long enough and at the front, or if we say something like right? So we have a ship, but we have sheep. By the way, remember, it doesn't have plural. So 1 sheep and 6 sheep on a ship. It's kind of easy when we talk about this now, but when you have the situation in which rapid speech prevails, it's very difficult to be correct, and you have to be careful, because as we can see in the following examples, sometimes we can come up with a little bit embarrassing situations, right? So we have a lot of, we call them minimal pairs, so pairs of words which differ only with one significant feature, the length of E. So we have bin and bean. We have chip and cheap. We have fill and feel. We have fit and feed. Grin and green. By the way, do you know what's the meaning of the word grin? Grin, grin? It's a kind of a smile. Yeah, he grinned. So this is not a full smile, some kind of half smile. Okay, hit, heat, still, steal, lick, leak. And again, bit, beat, hill. Here we have two equivalents, heel and heel. By the way, anyone knows the meaning of these two? Heel and heel with long E? Yeah, heel with long E, of course. It's the back part of our foot. Yes, so some women love wearing high heels. And the second heel with long E is the situation when you're ill and you want to make yourself comfortable, so you drink some medicine, some syrup or hot coffee or hot tea, and you try to heal yourself. Okay? Knit and knead, pick and peek, sin and seen, piss and peace, bitch and beach, and now we are, in this delicate and sensitive area, shit and sheet. These words, some people smile, but sometimes it can cause very, very embarrassing situation. And I was even witnessing situations like, like this, when people mispronounce the word beach and sheet, and, because of the wrong pronunciation, they said unintentionally, of course, a vulgar word. Right, so close your eyes, open your eyes, and do you remember at least 3 examples of minimal pairs from the slides which I showed you? Okay, Jana, that is great. Yeah, bitch and beach, right? Yeah, that's easy one. I mean, it's not easy, but it's ship and sheep, bin and bean, piss and peace, fit, feet. Yes, so You know, for us, it's a kind of nuisance. Why should we pronounce it and stress it this way? But it's very important from the, communicative point of view, because you convey a completely different message if you mispronounce these minimal pairs. Okay, good. Homographs, like this pair of beautiful high heels, right? Homographs are the words which look exactly the same, like these two shoes. They have the same spelling, so they look the same, yes, but they are pronounced in a different way. And of course, they have a different meaning. So let's look at some of them. I will not pronounce this word because the pronunciation will follow. Do you know what it means? I'm not pronouncing on purpose. Okay. Yes, the answers are fantastic because we know it from business. But there is one surprising meaning, surprising for a lot of people. Gold is heavier than lead. Yes. Lead is dark silver metal, quite soft, which is, for example, in petrol. But now in Poland, we have lead-free petrol, green petrol. And the meaning that you gave in the chat box was this one, yes? A good boss should lead the team. So this is the homograph, the word which is spelled in the same way, but pronounced differently, therefore carrying a completely different meaning. So this word can be pronounced in two ways: lead, so heavy metal, and lead, yeah, to be a leader, to be at the front. Okay, again, I'm not pronouncing this one because depending on the pronunciation, the meaning changes. Okay, so the wind, that's obvious, howled through the woodlands. So the wind, but there is another pronunciation, to wind. Now we have a lot of electronic watches, but in the traditional watches, you had to wind your watch, or you had to wind the clock in order to keep it going. Yeah, so in old watches, you had to do it. You had to do it manually. So the kind of round movement, winding. Okay, obvious word. Yeah, I will be there in a minute. A little unit of time. But this word has different pronunciation and different meaning. That's a very minute amount. Minute, tiny, small, minimal. Yes, that's a very minute amount. Okay. Again, the word which is obvious, but depending on the pronunciation, yes, Eva, right, yes. Be careful not to tear the paper. That's one meaning. And the second meaning, a tear went down her cheek. So the first is destruction, yes, so tearing into parts, clothes, papers, so you break it, yeah, usually with passion sometimes, maybe. And a tear is a drop of water, salty water, which goes down your cheek. Okay, very briefly, homographs, which change the meaning depending on the way you stress. Okay, so we have transport as a noun versus activity, to transport. Okay, so improved rail transport is essential for business, but we need to transport all these goods to Japan. Unfortunately, I can't hear you saying that, but you can practice this. So transport, stress on the first syllable, would be a noun. To transport would be a verb, therefore an activity. Another pair used in business, produce and to produce. Produce, this is this area of agriculture which is producing generally fruits and vegetables, right? So lots of quality produce is produced by Polish farmers. To stress a syllable means, in very simple words, means to say it longer, right? So produce, to produce, project, to project. She manages several projects right now, but the company projects an annual growth rate of 3%. Okay, another pair, permit versus to permit. First, they need to get job permits if they want to work in Poland. For example, our teachers, especially from United States and from Canada, they need to get job permits. But would you permit your employees to drink at work? Of course, we are thinking about alcohol. Refund versus to refund. Now we have the time of tax declarations coming to the deadline, and some people will get a refund, some people will not. So refund is amount of money. To refund is actually to make this action. The company refunded my expenses for the business trip. Present, sorry, I mixed it. Present, present, okay? So I've got a lovely present from him, or would you like to present the recent sales figures? Okay, good. Increase versus to increase, action. So the company noticed a significant increase in sales, or we need to increase our budget for trainings. Okay, so having in mind that stress on the first syllable indicates that you're talking about nouns, things, objects, and the stress on the second syllable indicates action, could you choose the right option? Okay, very well. Good. A lot of good answers. All of them perfect so far. Exactly. So we need to decrease expenditures for entertainment, action, decrease. But the latest market research showed us main target groups. Okay, good. Thank you. And the last part of our meeting, homonyms. If people ask me why English is difficult, I'm also saying this thing, that, well, it's not difficult, first of all, it's one of the easiest European languages, but it's difficult because it's very contextual. So it means that depending on the context, the word can mean something totally different. So if somebody asks me about the meaning of the particular word or expression, I always ask for context, because depending on the context, the meaning may differ significantly, right? And these are homonyms. So words which, you know, some kind of somehow they escape the common explanation, and they need context to be explained properly. The most popular group of homonyms are hot verbs. Hot meaning statistically most commonly used in English. So to get, to have, to do, to take, to go. If you open any dictionary, whether this is traditional paper dictionary or whether this is, you know, some kind of online dictionary, you will get hundreds and hundreds of examples of using these verbs, and depending on the context, they completely can change their meaning. So there's no one particular and explicit explanation for each of them. Okay, but let's look at words which are not verbs, but kind of typical homonyms. The word band. Easy? Yeah, because normally we would connotate it with a music band, with a group of people who play music. But not all of us know that band is any kind of a thing which helps to keep women's hair in place. So it can be, you know, a big one, or, you know, keeping your ponytail, or if you're running, you can use also a band on your head, keeping your hair in order. Okay, the word bank, very familiar, nothing wrong with it. Yes, the bank. But it has also the second meaning, the bank of the river. Um, just, you know, a quick comment, because in Polish we don't have many homonyms. In Slav languages we have very few homonyms. For example, I can think now about the word zamek, which has two meanings, but we definitely have far less homonyms than English. That's why sometimes it's difficult to understand everything in this language, because we are adjusted to one meaning, and suddenly the word which we think we know appears in a totally different function and we're confused. The word bat, well, quite nice, I would say, animal, like Batman, right? So this is the bat, but also in American culture, very important element of their sport life, the bat is this wooden pole which they use for playing baseball. Okay, fur, right? Something which is fur is good, is clean, is clear, transparent, according to the code of good practice. But also, and quite often, it's used to describe the color of, for example, hair or complexion, face. This is Nicole Kidman, and as you can see, she has fair complexion, so her skin is fair, but also she has fair hair, meaning light. Okay? Ground. Wow, somebody can say, oh, it's easy. This is ground, yeah? One of the first words that we come across while learning English. But not many people know that ground is also past participle from the verb to grind. And in the result, what you get ground coffee. So the coffee at the front of this picture is ground coffee, yeah? The one at the back is coffee in beans, and the coffee that you can see on the first ground is a ground coffee. Okay, a tip as a kind of advice, hint. Oh, she gave me some useful hints or tips before the presentation. Of course, you gave tips in the restaurants or somewhere else for good service, but tip is also, you know, a very top. Like here you can see a tip of an iceberg. Of course, this is like physical, because icebergs usually look like this, but metaphorically, like in Polish, tip of an iceberg suggests that it's only, you know, a signal of a problem which is, you know, much deeper beneath the surface. Okay? So, well, it's almost 3 o'clock, time to finish off. I hope that this very brief overview of the most commonly areas in which we can get confused was useful for you. Definitely you will have deeper insight into the issue when I'll send you the materials, but I hope that after our meeting and after having a closer look into the materials, you could say to yourself, wow, I'm not confused anymore. Okay. I've got some questions. Michał, yes. No, I mean peace. Michał is asking if peace is different from peace and peace. Of course, it depends how you say it, you know, at the end, whether it's z or s. It depends what follows, because in pronunciation of final consonants, it's very important what is next, yes? So depending what follows, peace as groszek becomes z or s, but that is dependent on the sound which is following, so the sound of the following word. Okay? Anybody else? Any questions now? Yes, okay, Małgorzata, yes, tips also has this additional meaning of female nails which are prolonged because they are like, like with this iceberg, this is the top of our finger, the top of our hand. So tips are also used in the cosmetic world. Okay. If you have any more questions, you can always write to us. And now I'm passing on the microphone to Maciek. Thank you very much for very active attending and very active participating in this meeting. Thank you very much. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Dziękuję bardzo, Ewo. Dziękuję Państwu za udział w tym webinarium. Na sam koniec tylko drobne ogłoszenie, że kolejne zaproszenia na webinaria wyślemy do Państwa około 10, 11 lub 12 maja, więc serdecznie zapraszamy na kolejne webinaria. Niedługo wyślemy do Państwa też materiały z tego webinarium. Tak więc zapraszamy serdecznie i do usłyszenia na kolejnych webinariach.